Good morning, everyone. It's Alan back at you. Today is happy birthday to me, September 13th, 2021. The time right now is about 12 o'clock. As soon as I finish this, I'm going to have a little lunch because I'm getting hungry. And what I'm going to do today is a video on this birthday of mine. Your gift to me will simply be to watch this video with a very open mind and understand that what I am about to tell you is real. It is something that I just discovered in the last few days as far as what this phenomenon is actually called. And I'm going to share that with you. But to make a long story short, I'm being stalked currently. And it's not just your average stalking case. Once again, as I have many times in these videos, I'll go back to my law enforcement days and let you know that back in the 90s when I was a detective, I specialized in domestic violence and stalking investigations because the two go together very much. It's not uncommon at all when there is domestic violence and the marriage is breaking up that particularly the male half will, maybe move out peacefully. And then as soon as he learns that the former wife is involved in a new relationship, especially if he suspects it's now become a sexual relationship, the male half typically goes nuts. And then the stalking begins and the threats and the following around from city to city and from job site to home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I went to specialized training for this. And I worked many cases involving this and got pretty good at it. And what's interesting to me now is that what I'm about to share with you is a form of stalking. It's out there in the, there's documentation of it on the internet. I'm going to post some in the show notes, and there's plenty. I'm just going to post a couple of the more interesting links I found. And this kind of stalking, which was unheard of back in the 90s when I was going through this formalized training, it actually has a name. And it's called organized vigilante stalking or organized community stalking. And what that is when somebody is being stalked by dozens or potentially hundreds of people, and it's very organized. And it turns out, in some of my research, it is not uncommon for it to be organized by the federal government post-Patriot Act, and also not uncommon for it to be coming out of the fusion centers, which is intimately involved with me and my case. This is also part of the Orange County Joint Terrorism Task Force and OCIAC, which is an acronym for Orange County Intelligence Assessment Center. And I would guess that they are probably involved in it. And what this is the organization of stalking groups to basically hound somebody to the ends of the earth until they either go crazy or they can get them to lash out and commit a crime, thereby incarcerating them. Or if they are persistent enough in complaining about it, what happens? I've told you this, I've been telling you this in video after video. That person will appear insane, and that gives them an opportunity to institutionalize that person. If they are able to get that person to commit suicide because of the, how unbearable it is to live under these conditions, that is the ultimate prize to these people. It is completely unconstitutional, it is illegal, and it is sick. Now, what I'm going to do, I want to also just take a little pause right here and say I've been referring to, quote, federal law enforcement, unquote, as I have been very aggressively going after corrupt law enforcement. And there is much of our federal law enforcement is thoroughly corrupt, to include the FBI. And Capitol Police, Washington Metro Police, and a number of others. But I want to, again, single out the U.S. Marshal's Office as an organization that I haven't seen or heard of this corruption being so prevalent with them. So I want to make sure that there is some distinction between some of these federal agencies. And also, you're going to hear me saying some negative things, as I have in the past, about local law enforcement, to include Costa Mesa PD. Go back and review my Mother's Market videos and the arrests that happened there that were staged and who eventually defended one of those arrests. And also my arrest at the fence. I did 2 videos on that also. When I was arrested on May 21st, 2020, and I again showed the evidence, showed the receipts, that although I organized that protest and I was totally prepared to be arrested during that act of civil disobedience, I explained how and why the sheriff's department intentionally blew that situation up, to DEFCON 5 with the actions they took for a very specific purpose. And I encourage you to go back and watch the video. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing, but and these secret societies that I've talked about in previous posts are pervasive throughout law enforcement. I honestly, after a 24-year law enforcement career, had no idea. I've explained this before, that I don't recall ever even hearing people talk about being a Mason or belonging to a Masonic lodge. So it just goes to show you how good the secrets are when a 24-year cop who rose to the rank of police chief doesn't have a clue that is going on around him, and it's pretty prevalent. But again, I'm going to talk a little bit about the sheriff's department in Orange County as part of this video, and I want to single out those men and women who, just like me in 1986, when I went into the Orange County Sheriff's Academy, had absolutely no idea this was going on around them. I'm not referring to you folks. You're out there doing a great job, and I love you, and the country loves you. But you have to understand that there are a significant number of people within your organization that belong to these secret societies, and they're prevalent in law enforcement. I'm going to show you some symbols and logos to help kind of highlight that right now. And I hope some deputies get a hold of this video who don't know anything about this. I wish I would have seen this video back in 1986 or 87, just so I could have been on alert, because I ended up with some pretty good friends who were deeply into this stuff, and I never had any idea, even though they were my good friends. And so what I'm going to do today is take you on a little journey with me and just simply run through some photographs with you, because I started to notice this weird behavior. Well, first of all, I was completely blind to everything until I was indicted. And then that was June 10th. I was kind of re-indicted again into Washington, D.C. 4 days later on June 14th, and had, that was just kind of an official formality to get my case into D.C. and let that particular judge give me my new conditions of release, and that was that. And then so I'm just, fat, dumb, and happy, living my life, thinking this really sucks. And then all of a sudden that Revolver News article came out that I told you about over and over again back on June 14th. I believe I read it actually on June 15th. And this is the article that talked all about the fact that people listed in your indictment are likely FBI informants, which then led me to my own indictment, where there was a person one, and I've talked about my primary informant over and over again. He's Morton like the salt, and I have no doubt about that. And this will be proven in court, if it ever goes to court. But what I'm going to do now is, what I've had revealed to me now over the past 3 months is so shocking and so stunning, and it's gotten so close to me that it literally allowed me to see directly into this evil that I always denied existed. I always thought to myself, this whole Satan and hell aspect of religion in general, of Judaism and Christianity, I just didn't believe it. I thought to myself, how can this be? It just didn't make sense to me. So that was one of the factors I always, caused me to either be an atheist. I told you I was 10 years ago, and then I became more spiritual and through yoga and meditation. And then now, as I progressed through this experience the last 3 months of having more and more just stunning information revealed to me, I have moved into full-blown Christianity, turned my life over to God, Jesus Christ. And that is a direct result of learning what I've learned and staring right into the face of evil and realizing, yes, this exists. And this satanic influence has been really guiding events in world history for many, many, many years, many, many years. I keep talking about how this stuff came to me, or when I stood up to protest COVID a year and a half ago, that's when they sunk their teeth into me, unbeknownst to me, through the whole process all the way up to January 6th. I had no idea this was going on. I think it's very possible now that I was definitely being observed and having influences sent into my life by this cabal long before that. And I have lots and lots of proof of it, which at some point I will show. But what I want to focus on right now is this right here. I'm going to take you on a photo journey, basically, and show you what I've been dealing with as far as this organized stalking. And you're going to notice a lot of people, they're wearing purple. That's kind of the uniform primarily. I'd say 80 to 90% of the people that I have identified doing this are wearing, ranges from light purple to dark purple, a purple backpack, purple shoes, purple scarves. They might drive by and have a purple towel hanging out of their car. I mean, that's really what I'm seeing. And also, as part of this satanic Luciferian influence that I'm going to discuss, that deals with Freemasonry and these secret societies, Skull and Bones of Yale, all these different types, Kabbalah, which is kind of the foundation for a lot of this stuff. You'll sometimes hear it referred to as the Khazarian Jews or the Khazarian Mafia. And I would encourage you to look that up and Google that. That has deep, deep roots, and it's satanic to the core. So with that said, I'm going to show you several photographs of what's been going on in my life for the past now really where I've noticed it and intensifying. Once I started to out some of these secret society things, I was posting on Getter and MeWe and kind of outing this stuff. This really intensified in my life to the point now to where when I go jump in my truck and drive down to the grocery store, or I drive down to Dana Point and take a walk around the harbor, they're with me, they're following me. And when you read the links that I put in the show notes, it's a thing, it's real, and no, I'm not paranoid. I understand that right now my life is probably in danger from what I am sharing with you, but that's okay. What I need to be true, I want to make sure that as many people know about this as possible. And so I'm going to start off just like this was back in early August, and I was driving. I don't want this video to go on too long, but I drove out to Dana Point to the harbor to take a walk just to get away from the purple zombies in San Clemente, and sat down on a bench. And this was one of many that day that I saw that just looked bizarre. And you'll notice he's wearing red shorts. Sometimes you'll see red and orange and yellow, right? The color of flames and the color, kind of the more stereotypical color of Satan. Even though the emoji on an iPhone, when you type in devil, it's purple, which is kind of interesting. There's also, it's called the Purple Order Arch or something like that in Freemasonry, and you can search that too, and you'll find out how symbolic and important purple is in Freemasonry. It's also kind of a regal color of kings and queens. But right now, and I also encourage you, when you watch the news, watch politicians speaking. The color purple, you might also research the title of that movie, The Color Purple, and look for things related to that to help you with the symbology of it. But it is really incredible to me how many people are running around out there in purple, including news anchors and anybody that's making politicians when they're giving speeches. And no, not every person wearing purple has any idea what I'm talking about. Not every person wearing red or orange or yellow is wearing them because it symbolizes the flames of hell or Satan. But what I'm sharing with you now is that as it relates to me and people that are victims of organized vigilante stalking, and this to them, especially if they know you know this, they're showing you their colors, basically. It's almost like gang colors, right? Crips and Bloods, blue and red. They're showing me their gang colors right now, and wanting me to know that they want me to leave. Problem is, you'll read this in the information I'm going to include, is that there is nowhere to leave to. They'll follow you to the ends of the earth, no matter where you go. And they have a web of these people that are connected. And they since 9/11 and the Patriot Act, and the many police community partnerships that have formed, the law enforcement actually has a network now of civilians who want to be helpful to the police. So, for example, groups of Freemasons or maybe the Elks Club members, another kind of a closed club. I'll show you about that who just want to be civic minded, they might love to help the cops who might be feeding them a pack of lies about the target. And this is very common also with these illegal organized vigilante stalking cases, is that corrupt law enforcement will target somebody and they will tell their helpers out there who think they're just being, helpful with the police, and they'll make up all kinds of lies about the target to get more and more people to want to join in on this organized stalking. So that's what we're dealing with right now. And I'm going to start with this guy. I went to Dana Point, sat down there on the bench for a few minutes. Within 5 minutes, this guy walks up, rides his bicycle up there, and then he just starts standing in front of me, about 20 yards away at the opposite bench. And he starts walking in circles and just looking at me every time he turns around. And I was just like, yeah, I think he might be one of them. And there's also a lot of these guys are older guys. And if you think about it, that's a big population in any Masonic lodge, are kind of older guys that have been, grew up in these lodges with their dads, and it's intergenerational. And they don't like a guy like me threatening their secret society. So you see a lot of older guys in these pictures. Okay, so then I'm going to show you something here. This is what I did here. I want you to see the date. And this says 7:18 a.m. on August 6th. And so what I did, this is a Getter post where I posted some symbols, and the entire post on Getter was related to basically, I understand what these symbols are, and some of these symbols people gave to me, or I know the people who created them. And I wanted them to know that I knew what they were doing to me. And so I posted this and basically bad-mouthed secret societies. This was at 7:18 a.m. And after posting this, now I have to look. Where did it go? Because within a few hours, a red shoe showed up on a car on my normal walk. Here we go. I had it out of order. So a few hours later, I go on my morning walk down to the pier, and well, now I know I didn't. No, I didn't get that out of order. I went out of order just now, but I'll get to the creepy shoe. So after I posted that, I went on my morning walk, and as I was already starting to become suspicious of people who were potentially following me and sending me these messages of "we're watching you." And this particular guy, who you see here, I was walking towards the end of the pier, and he was walking towards the beginning of the pier. And as he walked past me, he walked very close to me, strangely close, and gave me a very bizarre look as he walked by. So I thought to myself, well, this is interesting. Let me see what happens with this guy. I think I'll just turn around and walk behind him and see where he goes. So I started to follow him. And I know it's kind of ironic, isn't it? When you're being followed, you're not supposed to follow people. And he turned slightly when I started taking some pictures, and he turned slightly towards me, and then started to walk towards the end of the pier. And you'll notice he's just wearing black. But black is I notice is kind of a base color to these people. Often you'll see purple and black, or you'll see red and black, or orange and black, or sometimes black all by itself. But I want you to notice, I'm going to show you something else too. And I know many of you out there will think to yourself, okay, Alan, you're getting too conspiracy theory on me. Just trust me on this. And if you've had my unique experience that I've had for the last year and a half now, especially the last 3 months, you wouldn't have a doubt in your mind about what I'm going to be telling you in this video. So you'll notice down here at the bottom, he's wearing Adidas, okay? And I'm not sure what the logo up top is, but he's got Adidas shorts on. I'm not sure. He's got some writing or logo on the camouflage hat also that I'm not quite sure of. But I want to just show you something with the Adidas logo now. So the Adidas logo is a pyramid. And that is probably the most important, one of the most important symbols in Freemasonry. And often you'll notice the Eye of Horus, that's their logo, basically. It's on the back of a dollar bill. Take out a $1 bill, turn it around, and you'll see that Masonic symbol right on the back of it. And yes, our country was founded on Freemasonry. I believe it was a little less evil and corrupt than it is today, because it's around the time the Illuminati that came out of Bavaria, West Germany, infiltrated the Masons around the time of our founding. But they were still a secret society. So there you see the Adidas logo that he's wearing with the pyramid, and that's an important symbol to them. So then here's what happened next after I started walking down the pier after him. So you're going to see this guy in purple in front of this guy who I'm following. So when he got down to the area, as you go down the steps underneath the railroad tracks at the San Clemente Pier, he stopped and he quickly turned around and he started taking pictures of me. And you can see him holding his camera up there. So at this point, we're taking pictures of each other. And this guy who walked through the camera lens in purple, he's walking a pit bull, tough looking dude, tough looking dog. He's got some pretty badass tattoos here. I've seen him around. I'm sure he's local. I'm not really sure what the tattoos are kind of blurry, so I can't be certain. They look pretty interesting. And now with my new knowledge of symbols, I'd love to see what those tattoos are and how many more he has that might be interesting to look at. He's got purple on his hat, purple shirt, possibly purple pants. And I think I'm seeing some pyramid on that left pant leg there. Maybe not. Like I said, this guy could be completely uninvolved. It's just total coincidence that he's in all purple and with these cool tats. So after this guy started taking pictures of me, I kind of paused, and he went down below where you can see the tunnel underneath the tracks there. He went down there, and I went the other way. I went the long way around and then back up onto the sidewalk. And by the time I got up on the sidewalk and looked to the right towards where I would normally walk home, this guy was gone. I don't have any idea where he went to, but this is what I saw next as I started walking towards him, or towards the area that I last saw him. This red shoe. And you'll notice that in that post, my getter post, one of the symbols and things that I posted was just a red shoe. And this was sitting on a car right on the path that I would walk home if I were to just continue walking home. Or continue following this guy that I was following. And it was just sitting there, just like this. So I took a picture of it. And like I have been doing now for over a month, taking pictures of everything, because I figured, people would never believe me, or they would think, oh, you're paranoid, Alan, that could not be. Now, if you don't know about red shoes, as it relates to the occult and it relates to evil, I encourage you to search on DuckDuckGo for the Red Shoe Club or the Red Shoe Cult. Look for things about John and Tony Podesta, the Clintons, spirit cooking, all this kind of things that you have been conditioned to now believe are conspiracy theories, because that's what the mainstream media's job is to do as the propaganda arm of the intelligence agencies, the FBI, who are controlled by these secret societies. So that's why you believe these things. I encourage you strongly to do your own research and just trust me on this when I tell you I'm living this nightmare right now. I am perfectly sane. I am optimistic that I am going to live through this. I am optimistic that the truth will be revealed, these lies will be exposed, and we will be headed towards a future so bright that we can't even imagine it today. So after I noticed that, what I did, because I had just started my walk when I identified that creepy guy at the pier, so after I took a photograph of that shoe, I just doubled back and jumped back onto the beach trail and started walking. And this was the first guy that I saw walking towards me as soon as I got on the trail that morning. Notice his red shoes. African-American man wearing a mask, and I noticed too that a lot of these guys wear masks. For obvious reasons. If they're doing something that they suspect might not seem right to them, possibly illegal, even though they might be working for the feds and, say, a local kayak organization, they still wear a mask just to be extra safe. After I left that guy and kept walking, I looked up to my left, and what did I see? A drone. Yeah, I'm not kidding, folks, and I'm just snapping photos left and right. And I will also be honest and add that the drone just kind of followed me for a little while until I got near a group of surfers and stood there and watched them. And it stopped there too, over the surfers. And then when I walked away from the first surfers, it hovered over the surfers and didn't follow me from there. It might be because I was flipping it off as I was standing there, but who knows? And now what I'm going to do is I go through these pictures. I'm going through a series of different days now, and I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm not going to try to document and categorize every single date and time that I took these. But this is in the same general range. You know, about a month ago, I'm out there all by myself, sitting on the rocks at this time. I was about to make a video actually, and this is still in early mid-August, and all of a sudden this guy walks up and does this. He just stops and stares. He's just standing there. So I thought, okay, I'll just start taking pictures of this guy, and I believe his hat is purple. It's hard to tell in this picture, but he was wearing a purple hat, I believe. And after a while of me taking pictures of him, he started doing exercises right there that were kind of bizarre, you know, staring at the horizon. And he did that for a little while, and then made a U-turn and walked away. And now this picture, what I did, some of the people I'm not showing their faces, again with symbols. Anything that, I see a lot of Under Armour here. And we have an Under Armour outlet in the mall here at San Clemente Outlets. So I would expect to see a lot of Under Armour gear. But I've also read some things and been shared. I've had some people that I trust that are kind of mentoring me and educating me in the occult. And I've done my own research, and you can look for logos, like from your biggest corporations. Just look at logos, just like I talked about in my last video, where I created a logo and I was guided into an almost identical logo to the Masonic logo of the compass and square. So this is hugely important to Freemasonry, is that these logos have a double meaning. And the Under Armour has a couple of things going on for it. And this guy, he's wearing a purple shirt, purple shoes, red shorts, right? So he's got the red going on too, and the red Under Armour big logo on his chest. And I believe it is Ephesians. And again, as a new Christian, I'm studying the Bible, and I am listening to some pretty good and interesting websites, YouTube channels and whatnot. You might go to Truth Unedited on YouTube. That's a really, really good channel. And so the double meaning here for Under Armour, the Ephesians reference is, I believe that's where the reference about putting on the armor of God comes from. So if you were the antithesis of putting on the armor of God, and you were putting on the armor of Satan, where might that armor be found? Well, it might be found down under, the Under Armour. And then it has a second thing going for it also, which is the big U that comes up from the top is kind of has the appearance of horns. And that's a big, big plus if you are in these secret societies that are satanic. Again, not everybody that wears this stuff has any idea. I've worn plenty of Under Armour things in my life. I would say 99% of people that wear Under Armour don't have a clue. But the ones that are walking around with their secret handshakes and their secret phrases and winking at each other because they've got a secret, that are wearing this, they know. And it's kind of a symbol to each other that, oh, you might be one of me. Okay. So as I was walking on the beach trail, I noticed things like this, right? There's a big black Sprinter that parked in the Linda Lane parking lot. There was another one right across from it the same day, parked, right across. And at times I thought it was actually feds that were driving down in these Sprinters and just unloading a bunch of people and walking and kind of monitoring what I might be discussing on the phone. They've got technology known as a Stingray device where they can drive up next to your car if they want and just point it at you and suck up all the data that you have on your phone. And they'll do it whether it's constitutional or not. And this happens all the time where they'll suck up this data from people's phones, and you'll never know it happened, and they'll never say they did it, but they might find some interesting tidbits that they can then use to build probable cause against you and never have to reveal the fact about where they got it, because it will look organic as to how they got it. And it's called Stingray. You can do some searching on this technology on your own. And so I thought to myself, I was probably feds that are walking around. And very early on, you know, I see these guys walking around with kind of pasty looking with their Magnum PI Hawaiian shirts, trying too hard to look like they're beachy. And that was another indicator where I thought to myself, wow, they must be feds. But now I'm convinced, no, it's probably primarily at this point these secret society types. Again, Freemasons, community groups that work with law enforcement and think they're doing law enforcement a favor, and they're out there now. And you know, you think about it, they get to play like cops, right? They're out there, they're using their cell phones. Sometimes they use two-way radios, and you'll read more about this. One of the links that I'm providing you in the show notes is actually 81 pages long and goes into great detail. And once you know what to search for, organized community stalking, you will get pages and pages of stuff on this. It is happening, it's real, and some suggest that it is a primary reason for a lot of workplace violence that we see. However, you never hear it discussed that way, and that is, it's oftentimes this happens in the workplace where somebody is stalked by a number of people in this weird way where they're followed and harassed throughout the workplace. And it's done in ways that are very subtle, and you'll see when you read the information. But eventually it'll drive somebody crazy. It'll drive them out of the workplace. And if they were to have gotten a severance package, they don't have to worry about the severance package. The person has been blackballed, and they will continue to follow that person and try to keep that person unemployed by letting other, you know, future employers, potential employers know, oh, this happened or that happened. They'll make up lies about the person to try to destroy the person. And again, if homelessness or suicide is the end result, oh, they give themselves a huge pat on the back. Now, these two women were walking past me one day, and I thought, wow, this is we got a couple of good things going on here. Again, we got the base color black, and they looked like they're in a uniform. I mean, their shoes match, their pants match, their shirts are both black, but they have different logos. Again, you've got the Under Armour logo, and you have a 5-point star, a pentagram in a circle. That's a satanic symbol. Now, you know, it doesn't look real. If you turn it upside down, it's the dark side of Satanism. You know, right side up, like I said, these people lie to themselves and think that Lucifer, the light bearer, isn't so bad. And that, you know, so when they have their pentagram right side up with one star pointing upward, they're actually on the good side of Satanism. But it's in the circle, and it's the pentagram. So they're sending me, at that time, a subliminal message. At this point, with what I've learned and what I've studied, there's nothing subliminal about what these people are doing in my life. They're definitely sending messages. And this is another one. I'm back on the pier. I forget exactly which day this is. She's wearing purple, light purple shoes. She's got kind of purple camouflage and a purple shirt. And you often see, if they're not wearing a mask, they'll be wearing these big floppy hats. And so all they have to do is just slightly look downward as they walk by you, and you can't see their face or take a picture of their face. And again, is it possible that this woman had absolutely nothing to do with this? It is possible. I admit that. Here we got another guy here. This is on my trip back from the pier again. And you will notice that I told you before that Masons are big on hats. I mentioned this in a Getter and MeWe post. If you're not following me on Getter and MeWe, I will put the links in the show notes also. In fact, I'll make a note to myself to do that, because I'm posting a lot of things on Getter and MeWe just to have it out there in the public domain and document this stuff in the event that something happens to me. You know, at least there'll be a breadcrumb some legitimate cop can follow if they're investigating my murder. But I call this guy the Purple Michigan. It's purple shirt, a hat, and a mask. Like I said, they like to wear their masks if they're not wearing a hat big enough to cover their face. And this is just another day on the pier, and he's kind of looking directly at me as I'm taking my picture. And again, the complete disclaimer is that 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 some of these people could just be walking around in this red and purple stuff. But this is happening constantly, all day long around me at this point. And there's a purple thing going on in the country, I understand right now, with, I think it has to do with what we're dealing with, this insanity of Biden, the stolen election, you know, the vaccine, the medical tyranny. There's something happening in the world right now, and this purple, the color purple, there's something representative there. I've told you already, search for some things, you'll get more details on this. But I'm walking by this guy, and his tattoos on his rib cage caught my eye, and I couldn't really make them out, and the picture's not really clear enough for me, kind of hieroglyphic-y. And then, but just behind him too, even though I was, you know, focused on the guy with the tattoos, behind him comes a guy wearing purple shorts, and then next to him you got some purple socks, guys. So I'm sure it's just a coincidence, folks. But let me go now. And so I'm going to show you a video now taken from my very own. I have a lot of vacation rentals around me, and I have security cameras all around me. So I collect videos of people as I see them, especially interesting ones like this. Strangers that come into the complex who rent one of these vacation rentals, and they just happen to be walking around in purple and have a tattoo on their arm that looks like blood dripping down from another portion of the tattoo. I'm looking at this going, oh, I'm sure that is a coincidence. And the lady in front of him, I think it's hard to tell, but they look like purple tennis shoes to me. I could be wrong. And again, my friends, I'm telling you this, speaking of tattoos, so I know it sounds so conspiratorial. Sounds so paranoid, and that's what they want you to believe, that Alan's paranoid, Alan's unhinged. And I'm telling you, no, I'm not. I'm just documenting my case like I would have as a detective. Back when I was a cop, I was a good cop. I worked with integrity, and I would have asked somebody in my shoes to do this kind of thing, record, video, all this stuff, and then so that I could use it as evidence in their case. And so I'm not crazy, I'm not paranoid, I'm not unhinged, but they want you to believe this. There's probably going to be some point where they're going to look at this video, or they'll try to use this video, the powers that be that want to take me off this earth and shut me up. And they'll potentially use it to, you know, try to force me to go to some shrink and have an evaluation where they will declare me crazy and institutionalize me. And this guy, again, same general time frame, now late August probably, just walking on the beach, all purple, purple shoes, purple. I think the sunglasses were even purple. And but the interesting thing that caught my eye when I focused closer and closer on this guy is when you really get close to his head, he's got a mask kind of pulled down. And again, I don't know if these are tattoos or what this is going on the back and side of his neck, but it looks like something dripping down out of his hair. So I don't know, the hair looks weird, could be some hair dye. And right back here, there's a little downward facing pyramid also that I noticed. Maybe it's a hair piece or a hat, I really can't tell. But it was a creepy looking dude, and I thought, you know, I got to get a picture of this. And these people are walking around me all day long. So now this guy that I'm about to show you, he is my favorite, okay? For those of you that used to like Friday the 13th movies, I call him Jason. This is one day I'm walking down to the end of the pier. I often start my morning walks by walking to the end of the pier and then watch the guys surf down below and check out the waves. And then I will get on the trail and walk in either direction. And on this particular day, when the red and purple zombies were at full tilt, I walked to the end of the pier. I'd already passed a couple of the purple zombies, and this guy is standing there. He's facing the water initially facing away from me. And then as soon as I get close, he turns around and he just stands there like this, like kind of half staring at me out of the corner of his eye. He's wearing sunglasses. He's got orange stuff on his shoes. He's got holding a red backpack. He's got some kind of talisman hanging around his neck here. and a mask that goes from his eyeballs to his throat. And he just stands there like that for probably 10 seconds, just like that, looking up towards the heavens. And then he just starts to hobble and walk past me. And he walks all the way down to the end of the pier. And I watch him for a while and, kind of just chuckle, because I'm thinking, this guy, he's really good. Because some of them, I think, go out of their way to kind of walk kind of creepy and to really try to look, spectacularly creepy. I even texted somebody saying, I think I am in the middle of a B-level horror movie right now when I took this picture, and I sent it to somebody. But yeah, I don't know. This is one of my favorites. And so here's another guy I'm going to show you. He's very interesting, and he, I think, is probably a bigwig wizard or something in this community, because he's everywhere around me. He's a young guy, I'd guess probably, late 20s to mid 30s, somewhere in that range. He's wearing looks like a purple shirt, different shade of purple, kind of light purple, and he's got a purple backpack. And I call him Scorpion Man. I'll show you why. He's got some really interesting tattoos, and I'm not sure what the symbolism of that one is. He's got this scorpion down here on his left leg crawling up into his pant leg, so that looks super badass. I did some research on the tattoo of a scorpion on somebody, and one of the interesting things is if you're in San Francisco in the gay scene with a tattoo like this, apparently it indicates that you are HIV positive, and it's kind of a symbol to other people to let people know, I guess, if you're in the scene. I could be wrong. There are some things that are wrong on the internet, so I'll accept that. But this particular guy, he's very, sometimes I'll see him in a floppy hat. He often wears a floppy hat. He's very aggro, very agitated, and I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of this guy. This is a close-up of the scorpion tattoo, and he is everywhere. If I am driving down the street, this guy suddenly just appears on the corner, and he's just staring at me as I drive by. He took off his hat once and kind of slammed it against his leg a few times and frowned and was looking really agitated. And there was one occasion where this guy, I would say I've had about a half a dozen sightings of this guy. Typically in the Pier Bowl, when I'm driving home or walking around down there, he'll suddenly appear. There was one time when I was talking to somebody, an old friend of mine who is no longer a friend. I was talking to somebody down on the beach near the pier, and talking about life. And at the time I'm having this conversation, I know who this imposter is, not the Scorpion Man, the person that I'm talking to. And suddenly Scorpion Man shows up and sits down about 10 to 20 feet away from me on a big pipe underneath the pier, and just stares at me. He takes off his shirt, and I believe exposed a couple more tattoos on his chest, one of the sun and moon. I could be wrong about that, but a couple of circle-looking things on each side of his chest. And then after he takes his shirt off to expose those, he starts to bang both of those sandals you see there against the pipe very loudly and aggressively. And he says, "Hi," to me. And I nodded him. And then the person that I was speaking with said, "Oh, we should probably leave." And so I said to this guy, I said, "Have a good one, bro," and turned around and walked away. So I don't know who this guy is. I'm guessing he's probably a bigwig in the Satanist, Wiccan, Freemason Elks Club community here in San Clemente. But he's very aggravated and he wants to appear to be very intimidating. And he's a scorpion after all. And so this is another interesting one. I'm on my morning walk another day. I think this is not the same day that Scorpion Man appeared on the beach in front of the water. But I'm just walking up the street, and I have been discussing the Wiccan aspect to all of this, the Kabbalistic influence in all of this, Kabbalistic influence in Freemasonry and in the Wiccan and wizard, they call them, movement. And I'm just walking up the street. You would associate a broom with a witch, right? And so right there in my path on the sidewalk, there it is, this broken broom laying on a purple cloth. And I was just rolling my eyes. And I didn't see who did it, but it was a message received. Fortunately, there was also around this time, probably later in August, there was a young, disturbed woman, as I was talking to somebody that I trusted on my cell phone, out by myself in the middle of the San Clemente Pier parking lot under a tree, just having a conversation. This woman, probably mid-20s, rushes up to me very quickly, and she's yelling something, and I can't make it out. And eventually, as she gets closer, she said, "God spells G-O-D. And that stands for get out drunk." Now, by this time, she's 10 feet away from me, talking directly to me as she's screaming this and pointing her finger kind of in a southerly direction as she's yelling that. And I just kind of shrugged my shoulders, and I said to the person on the phone, "Did you hear that?" And she said, "Yes." "Oh my God, what are you dealing with down there?" And I explained it to her, and she was shocked. But that kind of stuff is going on now. Now here's some things kind of outside of San Clemente to show you that this stuff follows me outside of San Clemente also. And when you read the links that I'm sharing with you, you will see that this is supposed to go on for your lifetime. They want to drive you absolutely crazy. Who knows? I'm still hopeful that the truth will be revealed. So here I'm in the Mission Viejo Mall, and I'm just walking around, and here's a young guy. He was probably in his early 20s. He's sitting there in his purple, and he's got Baphomet. Baphomet is the satanic goat that you often see in the upside down pentagram when they want to represent the dark side of Satanism and not the lights bearer of Luciferianism that they think is better. But yeah, so this is somebody who's just sitting there, and the purple people were everywhere when I was in the San Clemente Mall. I'm going to show you now. It's kind of out of order a little bit, but I want to show you the San Clemente. You know what? I'm going to get to that actually. Let me do something else first. I'm going to show you something in Yorba Linda. So I went to Yorba Linda. And I was in a hotel in Yorba Linda for a couple of days. And I have some relatives out there, and I just didn't feel like, doing a bunch of driving. I thought I'd get away from the San Clemente purple zombies for a while and, see what happened in North Orange County. And yes, they were everywhere in Yorba Linda. I stayed at a nice hotel, and really within an hour of my checking in, there were probably, I saw at different times, in groups of anywhere from 5 to 10 people that seemed to know each other checking in after me, many of them wearing purple, and I'm sure some of them had nothing to do with this, but I'm sure many of them did. And this is one particular character who was the creepiest guy, and he was, like, you can see this black back of a pickup truck right here. That's my truck, parked right across from where I was staying. My room was right across from this. And when I arrived, he was, I don't think he was there right when I pulled in, but shortly after. And you'll notice that he's standing underneath the setting sun above him. You can hopefully see that. I'll lower it a little bit to make it clearer in the picture. And what he's doing there is, it's hard to tell because the picture's a little blurry when you enlarge it, but it almost looks like he's doing this with his, with his left hand. And with his right arm, he's making a Masonic arm gesture. That's a very, very well-known Masonic arm gesture. One of the theories that I've heard on this, and I'm sure there are many, and it probably has more than one meaning, but that is the symbol of basically indicating that they are aware that they know they will be cut in half and their innards burned and scattered to the winds if they ever reveal their secrets. Now, again, I don't consider myself an expert, but I sure have been doing a hell of a lot of research lately. And he's also wearing purple shoes, and I can't really tell what color the shirt is. And so this guy's like right there almost as soon as I get to Yorba Linda. I'm going to show you now what I meant by Masonic arm gesture. These are Masons actually in their full regalia on the left. And I'm not sure who this guy Fred Hammond is, but I got this, the African-American gentleman in all red, the suit in all red on the right of this picture. He is, somebody wrote a bunch of things on the internet indicating that he, whoever he is, apparently deals in Satanism. And it's not just this picture. They showed a whole bunch of things about whoever this Fred Hammond guy, and it's a public website that's out there. I just took this picture from it. But this is a Freemason arm gesture right here. And you'll notice too, it looks kind of like when you pledge allegiance. And consider that our country was founded under Freemasonry. Many of the founding fathers were Freemasons, and they love the double meanings are very important to them. It gives their primary meaning more power when they are able to push this off on us and we're oblivious to it, just like the pyramid and the eye on the back of a dollar bill. But that's the arm gesture I just wanted to show you. And there are various variations. Like you see the Masons up there, they kind of have it at a little bit of an angle. Sometimes people will make a fist to show more power. Other times they'll slide the hand under their coat, because the hidden hand is also a very powerful symbol in Freemasonry and the occult. And so when you see that, that's what it's all about. And this is I'm going to play a quick video for you, because you'll see this guy again. This is, I think, the next day where he's walking around right there. Very animated talker, too. He was. The whole time I was there, he spent probably hours just wandering around out behind my my room near my truck, and he parked his car right next to me. At one point, when I was walking out to my truck, he almost appeared to be crouched down and surprised me coming up between our two cars and then walking straight towards me. And that's one of their tactics and techniques, is to try to like shock you at times, or to swerve a car in your general direction as you're driving or walking. They do all kinds of things like that to try to drive you crazy. Now, I'm going to come back now to back to San Clemente and the Elks Club. And you'll notice here, again, I want you to do your own research, and you can, search the founding of the Elks Club back in the late 1800s, and it was basically the Freemasonry under a different name. Their initiation rites were the same. It's all the same, and it's of course, just like Freemasonry, there has to be some satanic roots to it, Luciferian roots. And I'm going to show you some things about this marquee here that's up on El Camino Real. And I know they're not going to like this, but what else are they going to do to me besides kill me? And if they do, folks, you heard it here first. It was no accident. So I'm going to enlarge this and show you a few things. First of all, do you notice the color that it's in? Purple. Many of these service clubs, like the Rotary Club, Elks Club, Kiwanis Club, not everybody, but a lot of these clubs are kind of like lower level feeder clubs that eventually these guys will join both of them. For example, Ole Hansen, the founder of San Clemente, you can find it in his bio. He was an Elks Club member, no doubt probably founded this very club back when he founded San Clemente. And he was also, in his bio, a Freemason. He was a very wealthy and powerful man, and no doubt he was a 33rd degree top level Mason. And so in addition to the purple that you have here, you'll also notice it's an Elks Club, right? So they have a big elk there with the horns. And like I said, the horned animals like the goat Baphomet, right? The goat's name is Baphomet. And the goat is the symbol of Satanism. So what we have here is a red pentagram above these horns, these antlers. This is an elk, of course, so it couldn't be satanic. But their acronym is BPOE, which stands, if you look at their website, it stands for the Benevolent Protectors of the Order of Elk. Very clever, very interesting. But if you really pay attention and you start to look at that symbol, and you know the goat Baphomet is the satanic goat, and then all you have to do is pull out every other letter from Baphomet, and it's a perfect match. The B, the P, the O, and the E in the Elks logo is every other letter in the word Baphomet. B-A-P-H-O-M-E-T. I know. And things like this really get them off, right? Because they want to be clever, and they want to hide these symbols right in our faces. They want to hide what they're doing right in our faces. You'll also notice that that it's 11 o'clock. The number 11, search this for yourself. The number 11 is hugely symbolic to these Luciferian Satanist types. And again, I posted something on Me, We, and Getter talking about 9/11. I have no doubt, it is clear to me now that 9/11 was an inside job. Look at building number 7. The towers themselves stood up from the earth like a number 11. They were taken down on 9/11, a hugely symbolic day. It is 11 o'clock on this logo, and that's, just like I said, hugely symbolic. So I'll leave it at that. This is your local Elks Club in purple, and I'm pretty sure they're probably somehow involved in this too. But, you know, I could be wrong. So let me go now to the Elks Club door, because this is also, you will notice, and this is also the San Clemente Elks Club. You got the purple, you got the same logo right up there on each side. And the door is all white, and this is also symbolic. And you see black over white, the black wrought iron, the white doors. Black checkerboard floors are also Masonic. You'll see a black and white checkerboard floor in almost every Masonic lodge. And you can see kind of checkerboard pattern there, right? You see squares. You see 3 rows of small squares in each panel of wood. You see the black wrought iron, so it's very Masonic. It's got a very Masonic look to it. And, and you'll also notice, whoops, I took that down too fast. You will also notice that the door says right there, San Clemente Elks Lodge, number 2068, membership or ID cards required upon entry, because you ain't getting in there if they don't know you, because my guess is they got secrets. Now, I'm going to show you something that's very important for you to understand about law enforcement. And you know I love cops. After a 24-year career, I love my fellow cops. And I want to talk about something, though, because I was in it for 24 years, and because these societies are so secret, and I'm grateful that I was never approached and asked, or never gave anybody an indication that I might be interested in something like this. To me, I take that as a compliment. But this is the Fraternal Order of Police, FOP. It's a pentagram in a star, right? You have, and sheriff's badges, you know, they're 5- and 6-point stars typically. And that doesn't mean that somebody wearing a sheriff's badge. I wore that 6-point star from the Orange County Sheriff's Department for like over 2.5 years, and was proud of it when I wore it. I'm guessing that, you know, 80 to 90% of the Orange County Sheriff's deputies working today are like I was and have no idea this is going on around them. But if you'll notice that this has the pentagram and a star, it has the all-seeing eye down there on the lower left point, and then it has FOP. It's got purple in the coloring. In the center, you see the checkerboard floor, only it's got a yellow background. It's not black and white. And there's other symbology in there also. But it is a totally Masonic symbol once you know what to look for. And then down below, you see the California FOP. And I can tell you from my own experience, unless something has changed, you hardly ever heard of the California FOP as a cop when I was growing up and going through the ranks. The Fraternal Order of Police, as far as I knew, was always more of an East Coast thing, where they actually represented cop unions and, you know, helped them out with negotiations for pay and helped them out when they had legal issues. But in California, we had something called the LDF, the Legal Defense Fund. We also had a group called PORAC, that was like the umbrella organization for the police unions. And then every single police department and sheriff's department had its own police officers association, or some other word if you were a sheriff's department, but it was basically a police union. So this FOP stuff was never, ever a big deal in California, but apparently we have a chapter, and it's even got its own logo. So yes, this stuff is huge, and it explains why what happened to me at the fence on May 21st, 2020 happened. When you saw what happened to me that day, and I encourage you to go back to that video and watch it. And I explain everything. I show the evidence. There's 2 segments to that, and there's 2 segments to the Mother's Market arrests. And when you watch those 4 videos, you will say to yourself, yeah, this looks so weird and it looks so unprofessional with what they're doing and it looks so staged and scripted that this can't be real. And then all you have to do is know that when this kind of stuff is going on, it is being controlled by this secret society element within law enforcement. And it's out there, folks. It is horrible. It is deadly. It is destroying us from within. These secret societies worldwide are evil, and they are so powerful. They have infiltrated federal law enforcement, local law enforcement. They have infiltrated the highest levels of government, politicians, Hollywood, the media, you name it. It is, you have 10% of the population controlling 90% of the world through this insanity that we're living through. And as I'm speaking about law enforcement, I want to end it with one last thing. Those guys, there were probably 100 to 150 deputies that were involved in my arrest at the fence. And I have no doubt the command staff are giving themselves the secret handshake and are involved in these secret societies for what happened to have occurred. There's no way that your average law enforcement guy with integrity would have staged that like they did, to set me up in a way to give me an appearance, an aura about me as a shit disturber and a potential domestic terrorist who needs to be hammered down. I was protesting because they stripped away my rights and your rights. And as we've seen a year and a half later, I was 100% correct in standing up and fighting back against this. But I want you to notice something very interesting about this sheriff's command staff. This is his command staff, right? Every police chief, every sheriff has their command staff. And this is their inner circle of people. And in 2021, the fact that a sheriff's command staff does not have one woman or one person of color blows me away. Now, I understand Orange County doesn't have a large African-American population at all. So I could see, maybe having that as an explanation where, of the, 1, 2, 3 of the more than a half a dozen guys involved in this. I'm trying to raise this up a little bit. Okay, well, down below, for some reason, this won't lift up. There we go. I'm going to show you the lower rung of it here, because you can see the bottom rung too. Now, there's not one Hispanic person, not one woman. You see the woman on the lower left down there, and her name is Mary Izadi, and I'm sure she is not a sworn person. She's not duly sworn sheriff's person. She's a civilian constitutional policing advisor, ironically. But all white guys, all white males involved in this command staff. Think of the huge Hispanic population in Orange County, and not one Hispanic, not one woman. What does that make me think? Well, me being the suspicious guy who doesn't accept any coincidences, the former detective and the former 24-year cop, it makes me think that there's something much more important to this particular sheriff than diversity and inclusion. Because I guarantee you, in a department of a couple few thousand sworn people, there are some women and there are some people of color that are more than qualified to be in his command staff, and they're not there. Maybe, just maybe, there is something else more important to this sheriff than diversity and inclusion. And I'll let you be the judge of what you think that might be. And on that happy note, I'm going to be praying for this world. I'm going to be praying for everybody in this great nation of ours. I pray so many times a day now, I can't even begin to describe to you how close I feel to God now, and how close I feel to Jesus Christ, and how much I understand his sacrifice on that cross and what it was intended to do for us here on this earth. But I needed to be slapped awake to see this. And I am telling you, my friends, this is going to sound hard for a lot of you to swallow, what I just shared with you. But please Continue to do your research on this. Please pray for me, pray for my family, and understand what's happening around you. And just like I am, I want you to be sane and rational and optimistic about what potentially could be coming out of this. I still believe the good guys out there know everything about what I just told you and shared with you on a global scale. And the good guys in this country are going to, or in the process of putting together one heck of a plan that is going to expose and destroy this evil. And we as a nation and we as a global population are intended to feel this pain and see and live through this insanity so that we can make it right and so that we can expose it, destroy it, and take our country back again. And with that, avoid large crowds at this time. Be peaceful. No matter where you're at or what you're doing, be peaceful. Pray for me, folks. With that, I'm going to end it. And I love you all, and I'll be back soon with more. Take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.